Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm going to be reviewing Nocturne by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a literary fiction short story collection containing 5 short stories. I don't read literary fiction too often. This is also my first ever Ishiguro. Suffice to say, I liked it enough that I'm definitely going to be reading more Ishiguro in the future because every part of this was really good and I really enjoyed it. First of all, I will talk about the 5 short stories, and then at the end I will do an overall sort of review and my overall thoughts on it as a whole. The first short story is called Crooner. The story is set in Venice around a piazza. A local band musician called Jan meets up unexpectedly with the singer Tony Gardner. They get to talking about music, life and culture and everything else you could think of. Tony Gardner also asks for Jan's help with a particular song. I'm not going to get into details because that would be a spoiler. I mean, it's only short after all. First to say, the story is filled with them just talking for most of it, and especially talking about music and life. And although the idea is simple, it's extremely effective, and the way they talk really does feel very casual and very conversational, and it's extremely well written, and the emotion that you get between these two characters and the sort of connection they have is palpable. You can really feel the connection between the characters, and it's really impressive. The second short story is Come Rain or Come Shine. A man is in a very bad place mentally, and he goes to stay with his friends who are a married couple in their small apartment, and it's just about him trying to get over his own sort of mental anxiety and his own sort of problems, but they've got problems as well, and the way they sort of interact makes for a very uncomfortable scenario, but a very compelling one. You can't sort of look away, relatively speaking. You wouldn't stop reading. Yes, it's extremely uncomfortable, and the way the characters interact really is a bit odd because they've all got their own problems, and they're not making it easy for one another because they're all so close and so in each other's faces that they're making things much worse. But somehow it works despite this, or maybe because of it. It's a very powerful story, and the emotions and the connections between them is once again extremely strong. The writing is very interesting, and the conversational tone is yet again extremely casual but extremely natural. The third short story is called Malvern Hills. This is about a London musician who gets tired of the London music scene. He goes to live or stay temporarily with his sister in the Malvern Hills, who owns her own little hotel along with her husband. Whilst he's there, he meets a Swiss couple, and the conversation that he has with them makes him realise certain things that he's not doing that he should be doing. They also have these kind of revelations, and the story is filled with a lot of melancholy and a lot of reflective thoughts, but it's extremely well written yet again, and the way the characters interact and the way they think back on their past and then use that to think of their future is really interesting and really compelling. It's a melancholy reflection on life and your future, and the message in it is that basically don't waste your life. You only live once, so make the most of the time you have whilst you have it, because you ain't going to get it again. None of us are. The fourth short story is the title story, Nocturne. This is about a jazz musician who has cosmetic surgery, and he goes to a hotel to recover from it. Whilst he's there, he also bumps into Lindy Gardner, the wife of Tony Gardner from the first story. You know, that's one of the many links sort of throughout the stories. And basically, they get on in a slightly odd way, and they just wander around the hotel and talk, and they sit in their hotel rooms and just talk and reflect on what has happened for them to both end up stuck in at this hotel, both having cosmetic surgery and having to recover from it, and why they're in this situation. It's very reflective, and yet again it's quite melancholy. It's extremely well written. The conversation is incredibly natural, as always in this book. And the interaction between the two characters is really quite interesting because they get on in a lot of ways, but they don't, because they have some significant differences and they don't entirely see eye to eye. So one of them thinks one thing and the other might think it but not quite, and it makes it a bit unsure of each other and of themselves. And that odd feeling is a really interesting one, and it's really well portrayed in this story, and it gives the story a certain odd edge to it which really works well. The last short story is called Chalice. This is about, unsurprisingly, a cellist set in Venice in around the same piazza as the first short story again. And in this, a young guy who has only recently had his training ended meets up accidentally with a older woman who is also a cellist, and she teaches him some new things to do with obviously playing the cello and about life in general, and they sort of play off each other and learn about life and music in general about each other. The local musicians, they don't like this because they think that he's relying too much on her, and that interaction which was not in the first story is definitely in this one. The local musicians are very concerned for him and they're very much friends with him, and they don't like the way he's relying entirely on her, and it's almost like he's sort of giving up on his life and just following her far too much for their liking. They think he should make his own way, and indeed that is the message of this story, is that they don't rely on other people all the time to do what you want, make your own decisions and then live with them. So that's it for the 5 short stories. The overall ideas for the 5 stories are very simple. However, the writing style is not simple. It is very complex, very intricate and very nuanced. The emotion that Ishiguro manages to portray for each character is remarkable. The way all the characters interact and especially talk is extremely impressive. The casual and realistic feel of conversation between characters is frankly phenomenal. They feel real. They feel as though he's just listened to somebody talk and then just wrote it down. And that is actually probably the most impressive part to me about this book. Well, there's many impressive parts. The writing is very sharp and very filled with melancholy at points, but it's also very open and sort of darker at points as well. And that mix is a really interesting one. I mean, I don't see that often, but then again, I don't read literary fiction that often, so it's not really a surprise. However, I do want to read more by Ishiguro because, as I said, this book was amazing and it made me really curious about what else Ishiguro can manage with a longer novel and more time to develop his characters, because the character development is phenomenal, the writing is amazing, and just the overall feel of the book is extremely impressive and frankly remarkable writing. The overall message that I personally got from this book is basically just love life for what it is, accept people for what they are, and just live your life as best you can and improve the world around you as you go, frankly. The messages that you get from each individual story, and indeed the overall message, would change depending on everybody that reads it. The way I read it and the way I see myself in these characters means that the message I see is going to be completely different, at least some of them, from what you would read and what everybody else would read into this. And that is actually extremely well done and actually, again, really impressive. So with that said, that's pretty much it for the review, really. If you've read this or would like to read it, then please leave a comment and we can have a talk. All my social media links can be found in the description box below, as they always are. And with that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.